Hello all. Apologies for the husky voice, I've got a bit of a lurgy going on, but I wanted to do this video anyway because I received my copy of BLOODRUTH today, as quickly and well packaged as usual with Rippaverse books, and it's certainly one of the better offerings despite the usual Rippaverse-isms. I'm going to talk about it without spoilers and may do a more spoiler review at a later date. So let's start with the writing. Being written by the Soskas, it has the same problems Yaira had. Good idea, not great execution, but equally not as bad. This takes place before Item 2, but given I don't know when Item 2 happened, I'm not sure how much that helps place it in the world. Sydney Bloodruth herself feels like an engaging character who is more fleshed out than some of the other Rippaverse characters, by the end of the book anyway. I understood her motivations, but there were some parts which were incongruous and a little inconsistent. As with the Yaira, she initially speaks without contractions, which I presumed was an artistic choice. She speaks like a person from ye olde days, and that would potentially suit her place in the world. But I quickly realised she had exactly the same voice as Yaira. Well, for the first 20 pages or so, because then for no apparent reason her voice changes, contractions and all, and she speaks far more colloquially. Actually, as with Yaira issue 1, most people didn't use contractions, and it's hard work reading at times because people really don't speak like that. And there's also lots of odd use of word salad language. For example, the phrase, "come high water or hell." It's just odd. And that sort of thing is throughout the book. It seems to be a Rippaverse-ism. Dialogue and narration never feel naturalistic. We also have those jumps in location, though not as egregious as Yaira, and random things happen that the book presumes you know about without any setup. There's also the trademark Rippaverse vagueness, but I think the balance is about right this time. I got enough to keep me engaged, but make me intrigued. Despite the main contrivance being inexplicable and clunky, the meat of the story and glimpse into Sydney's history is actually quite entertaining, and clever at times, though for the most part not exactly original. Much of it seemed, shall we say, inspired by other media, and felt very familiar indeed. For me, it didn't feel like a horror comic which they've been advertising it as. Sure, it had elements, but it wasn't really creepy, and I think part of that was down to the art. And don't get me wrong, the art by Michael Montanat is great. The best I've seen in these comics, which is striking given it was drawn by a fan art competition winner. It evokes Greg Land without the girly mag faces, except for one panel, and you'll know it when you see it, and Brian Hitch's style with a realistic look about it. Massive positives, but it's also very clean and had minimal use of evocative shadow, and that's something I touched on in my Werewolf by Night review. I can't really claim it's not atmospheric, especially when he lays on the detailed backgrounds, but it missed that creepy factor for me. I'd also say the detail of the background seems to lessen as the book goes on, though it is clear he's better at drawing castles than Cliff Richard's woeful doodle. There are some odd panelling choices. Whether Michael was constrained by the writing or page count, I'm not sure. It could just be bad planning, because images which really should have been given more prominence just weren't. I wasn't totally sure what was happening in some, I didn't like the action lines, and there are 3 in the middle of a fight which are minuscule and as a result utterly pointless. A really strange choice. Another positive is also completely consistent in the quality of colouring, which is really nice throughout. Now others will probably make more of the usual iffy editing and nitpicks, but I can't ignore the splash page debacle. Honestly, did anyone really believe the bollocks Eric was selling? It was an artistic choice that didn't pay off. No, it was a fuck up. With Rippaverse's usual lack of quality control was missed, and Eric just ran with it, dropping some bullshit excuse. It's pretty awful and ruins the splash page and the flow of the next few pages, which were clearly drawn to be laid out properly, but this error messed it up. Honestly, Eric, just own it when you make a mistake. Or better, get your editing sorted and put it right. This is a constant refrain, and this book had 4 editors, and they all miss what is a pretty major issue. In conclusion, probably the second best Rippaverse book I've read. Sydney feels well rounded as a character, though is yet another one that has an anti-hero vibe. There's some really nice, though slightly derivative story elements, which sadly are spoiled by bad dialogue you have to drag through. And the art is fantastic despite the aforementioned reservations. Have you read it yet, and what did you think? Where would you rank it in the Rippaverse canon? Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace out.